Leadership used to be a control, now it's about composure. In the age where technology accelerates everything, including burnout, leaders need new frameworks to stay calm while they stay ahead. In this episode of Power of Knowing Forum, today we have Dr. Sumesh decoding how high impact leaders cultivate stress free performance using science based tools, mindful frameworks, and art of leading well to explore how we converge to protect the organization but protect the people who run them as well. Welcome to C-Suite Strategy, Elevating Every Move, Scale Beyond, and our topic of discussion today is who leads who, stress-free leadership tools, frameworks, and art of leading practices. Your go-to podcast on tech, cyberspace, strategy, and growth. Special welcome to all tuned into Power of Mind Forums, episode 299 on LinkedIn Live today. We have the honor of having Dr. Sangeeta Sumesh, CFO turned business leader and leadership coach, enabling high performance growth and profits, an independent director on corporate boards, global speaker, best-selling author joining us today. Welcoming our esteemed guest to this podcast event, and let's dive into the topic. Hi Sangeeta, welcome to our podcast. How are you
Hi.
today?
Yes. Hi, Prem. Thank you. Good evening. Nice to be back on your podcast again.
Welcome. Sangeeta, just to dive in, because what we are talking about is who leads who. That's a very interesting point, and I see a book also on your background saying the same who
That's right.
leads to who. Can
Yes.
you give us an insight on what is that we want to talk when we are talking about stress free leadership, tools,
Right.
frameworks, and art of leading practices? What do you
Yes.
say?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that, Prem. So now, if you notice, one common thread that most leaders or the challenge they face is stress. And stress is a silent killer, right? So who leads who's leading you? Is it stress leading you, or are you leading stress? So that's the essence of the book. Now if you were to just take a pause and step back, now what happens when you are traveling in an airplane, right? Remember the instructions that most air hostess say before the flight is going to take off is that in case of an emergency, right, what do they say? First put the mask on yourself and then to your passenger, like, it can be even your family member, your most loved one as well. But the important fact is you need to take care of yourself. Now that is the message I want to share with leaders, because you see, leaders, what happens is they are always under tremendous pressure. There's so much of stress that they have to go through, meeting the targets, pleasing your customers, answerable to your board of directors, your investors, and there's and managing your team. It's not an easy task. And as a result, most leaders can very easily succumb to stress. Now, if you were to see, we had recently Vimal Jain of AU Bank, and then Mirchandani of, who all lost their lives at a very young age. Why? Because they all succumbed to stress. It's really unfortunate. And it's not just one or two rare cases, it's becoming a lot more common these days. And therefore, it becomes a lot important for leaders to address this stress. And that's why this book solely focuses on leadership wellness. So, what I have taken is I've taken some of the seven common areas or the challenges that leaders face. As a leadership coach, when I keep working with different corporate leaders, I have realized that there are some points that are pretty common. So I have taken these 7 areas of challenges that leaders face. I have given them self check, to see how, where they stand on each of these parameters and what they can do to achieve it. And I've also given leadership insights from our Puranas, right? Because I think our Puranas offer, there's so much to learn from each of those small stories or anecdotes that are being shared. So, what are those leadership insights that one can get? And then deep dive into these challenges, then given frameworks or tools that leaders can use so that they can start implementing it. These are easy to implement stuff that I've shared. And I have also given real life leader stories, like examples of leaders who've had these challenges and how they actually managed to overcome. Apart from this, I've also given a lot of leadership nuggets, some inspiring stories of leaders, and of course, on the common thread that runs through the book is the art of living practices, because how by being calm and practicing meditation, how it helps leaders in their wellness journey. So that's the essence and the crux of my fifth book, which is Who Leads Who, Stress Free Leadership Tools, Frameworks, and the Art of Living Practices. And I'm glad that, I'm going to get to deep dive a little more and share with you and our viewers and our listeners a lot more about this book. This book was just launched on Dashera Vijayadashmi Day by Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar in the Art of Living International Ashram in Bengaluru. And Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, our Union Minister, has written the foreword for the book. So I'm very excited to talk to you about this new book of mine.
Wonderful. Fifth book, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Now, coming to the points that you want to look at, I am getting an essence. You are saying who is leading you, who? Because
Yes.
I was thinking a person leading person. Now I think what you are saying is stress is leading
Yes.
you, or you are leading yourself, is what
Yes.
you're trying to
That's
say.
right. Yeah. That's the twist. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I always thought somebody is leading me, or I'm leading somebody. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But the
why?
reality is different, right? That's the thing.
Yeah, yeah. Why growth-driven leaders must learn the art of inner strategy? Because we
Right.
are talking
Right.
about strategy on many things, but inner
Right.
strategy is something which I wanted to understand from you.
Yes. Wonderful. That's a great question to start with, Prem. So let me step back and first share with all of you what are those 7 key challenges that leaders face, and then I link it with why it is important to have the inner strategy. Now, the common things that leaders face, irrespective of their domain and the geography or the years of experience they have, now the common things that leaders face as challenges are like, first is the workload and the time pressure. Everything is urgent, everybody wants immediate results. I have given you, have you met the target? Come on, do it right now. That's the attitude, and the work pressure is so much, right? So that's one challenge, irrespective of you may be a CFO, you may be a CIO, CISO, CHRO, CMO, CEO, whatever it is, these are common. And then emotional intelligence. Now, when a leader is thumped with all these pressures, how can a leader be emotionally intelligent, right? That's another area. The third area is the decision fatigue and the strategic thinking. Now, the choices are plenty, but at the same time, a leader has to take the right business decisions to grow the business further. And with umpteen number of options, it's easy to get bogged down by the decision fatigue. The fourth challenge that leaders face is the people management and the team dynamics, right? Because as a leader, you're kind of sandwiched between your team on one side as well as the board of directors on the other. So it's important for you to learn to manage your people and the team dynamics that exist. The fifth is your culture and the organization alignment. Now, each business has their own values, their principles, their goals, their vision that they want to achieve. But how aligned is the organization? And for that, you need to set the right culture as a leader. So that's the fifth challenge the book addresses. The sixth, of course, is the self care and the resilience, because unless you take care of your wellness and your well being as a leader, and if you can be resilient with your challenges and see how you can overcome them, how else can you manage to lead your team, right? So that's another important area. And the last but not the least is the identity and the expectations. as a leader, who are you beyond your designation, beyond the title? Who are you as a person? Because I have also realized that when leaders grow in their career and they reach a certain point, they're like, what next? What more? Who am I? Am I just identified by my title and a designation? Is there something more? Now that is the question that they ask. Now, if you look at all these 7 areas that leaders face, irrespective of their domain and expertise, how can they address these, and how can they manage to overcome? What are the solutions? How can they do all of this, especially when they are all bogged down by stress? And that is where you need to have this strategy, the strategy of managing your inner self, right? Because as a leader, you're not just leading others, you have to lead yourself as well to be an exceptionally good leader. And that is why it is important to have the right strategy to manage your inner self. And that is what this book addresses, right? So it talks about all these areas and a lot more. And it says that time that you design your strategy, always doing the strategy for the business, but what is the strategy for your own wellness? How are you taking care of yourself? How are you leading yourself so that you can lead others with ease? So that is what makes the inner strategy something highly important and essential.
Very, very valid points today. What we need as a leader to look at, because
Right.
what we are seeing is it's more of burnout that we see, where
Yes.
everything is coming in. We don't have time, but deadlines are there. We are not able to fulfill. And
Absolutely.
when you made a very important point, because we always go into that checklist of pointers saying that this I completed, but when you finish the day, you still have something to finish.
Absolutely. It's never ending, like I
That's
said. Yeah.
it's never ending, and
Yeah. Yeah.
everything that comes into your plate is always saying that it is urgent. And I had scenarios where people used to say that this is also urgent, this is also urgent, this is. So I asked them, can you
Exactly.
prioritize them with, say, priority one is this, priority two is this, and if there are four P1s, I'll assign people to look at four P1s, rest P2s and stuff like that. Then they
Right.
said, no, no, everything is P1. So I said, it is not going to happen like that, right? So
True.
you are sitting on a ball of fire and you are saying everything is priority, that you don't know how to prioritize the work that you are giving us.
So right.
So it so happened that one of the customer meeting which we were talking about, they said this is the exact statement that the person made. I had 15 pointers to be cleared and 15 pointers were said all were P1. I said, when did you log these 15 pointers at P1? Can you show me those tickets? Or you can show me that these are the concerns. Then he said, no, it is all 15 priority. I said, I don't have the resources to run at 15 priority tickets. And if you are not able to quantify 1, 2, 3, priority 1, 2, 3, this is also important, which 80% is stalled because of that priority 1 point, then I think it makes sense.
True.
Then we sat and we started looking that, making that person understand that we are not going to have all P1s was a
Right.
humongous task for us. Now, great pointers. I think I,
Yes.
first I should take the book and read. That's the first point that I will do.
Yes, I would
And
love to hear your thoughts on it.
yeah, I'll go through that book and maybe I'll put out some of the pointers as a summary of the book somewhere. Let me do that. And now coming to the next point is, can stress-free leadership still deliver high performance? Because once you are in stress, we don't know what is performance, what is delivery. We want to finish a task, and after that, we don't have plans, we don't have checklists, nothing. It's delivery only. So, how do we look at this kind of stress-free look, Sangeeta?
Great. That's also a very interesting question, Prem. So, firstly, what is high performance? High performance is achieving superior results by performing at a high standard. Now, let's park this definition aside for a moment. And I'd like to take your attention to the vicious cycle of stress, right? Because I think stress is something all leaders face, right? Irrespective, like I said, how many ever years of experience, whichever domain, whichever geography, leaders do face stress. But having said that, I would also like to tell you about the pressure cooker. Now, what
Hmm.
happens in the pressure cooker? A little amount of pressure is good and it's required, because that's when whatever you're cooking gets cooked. But at the same time, if there is too much pressure, what happens? Your pressure cooker bursts. And that's
Hmm.
exactly what can happen to a leader. So while some amount of stress could be good and it may be helping towards high performance, if it goes beyond limits, a leader is going to get burnt out or just burst out or succumb to stress. So that's where I want to highlight on the vicious cycle of stress. Now, what happens? When a leader, you expecting the leader to be a high performer. So the expectations are very high. So, in order to meet those expectations, what does a leader do? A leader starts to overwork himself or herself. And as a result, they tend to neglect their self care and also their mental wellness. And what does that lead to? A lot of tension and anxiety. Now, that takes another step. And what happens? Poor eating habits, or it's irregular eating habits, you're eating junk, and it also results in improper sleep. What does all that lead to? A lot of mental fatigue. And because of the mental fatigue, you tend to have a lot of conflicts with your team. Your productivity levels are poor. And all of this results in dropping or declining of the financial results. And therefore, now if you were to look at the cycle, because there's a decline or drop in the results, the pressure to perform is increased. And you see now the cycle, you have a pressure to perform, there are high expectations, you overwork, you neglect self care, there's tension, anxiety, you're eating poor, bad sleeping habits, mental fatigue, team conflict, and again, decline in results. So this becomes like a vicious circle. And the leader has to break free from this vicious circle in order to deliver high performance. So that is why it is very important. A leader needs to be stress free in order to deliver the best results and be the best version of himself or herself as a leader. And that is why stress free leadership can deliver high performance, because that's when you're able to exceed your own expectations, not just the expectations of your concerned stakeholders, but even your own expectations, and get better in what you do and deliver high performance.
You are taken so many pointers. Those are reflecting to the way that I used to work about 5 6 years
Oh,
back, where you
interesting.
said same things. We handling multiple projects globally
Right.
working. We didn't have time to see which project is coming. No priority set. The
Correct.
list This list was endless. You mentioned everything there that was going through, and one of my boss said is you need to start looking at bringing a second line, right? So
Ah,
that is
right.
where we started looking at, and then we started bringing regional service delivery managers and to
Right.
look at delegate according to, and we started saying that strictly no to time boss when I can be available to 9:30 or prior notice saying that
Right.
there is a call which is going to be at this one so that I can plan my day
Right.
accordingly. Then delegating some of the projects who can take during the morning and I take the night calls more because we are running global command centers, and lot of things what you said had been there. We had high stakes, we needed high performance, and that stress was always there. So now you've given me a basket of things to look at where I can look at and see how I can make myself at least on a stress-free way of looking at still deliver things.
Awesome.
Now
Awesome.
the hidden framework behind calm and profitable leadership. What is
Okay.
your take on that?
Okay. Now, this is my favorite part of the question, because it talks about profitable leadership.
Yeah.
And, profits is something that I always believe that each business must be profitable. If not, one might as well do charity. So, thanks for bringing up this lovely question. And here, what I want to share with you is, as a leader, a lot of the work a leader does has to do with decisions. right? Because as
Hmm.
a leader, you are, in charge of a whole of host of different things. You have to take the right business decisions that will enable your business to grow and thereby lead to profitability. Now, like I mentioned, one of those 7 areas challenges that leaders face is decision fatigue. So, in order to overcome this, the framework that I've shared in the book, and in fact, I've also shared the previous one that you asked me on the vicious cycle, right? That is also there in the book, Vicious Cycle of Stress. And the framework that I want to share for your decision fatigue, I call this the decision fatigue and strategic thinking radar for leaders, right? Because as a leader, you need to focus on multiple things. So, what can you do as a leader? So, the first focus area I would recommend is to prioritize your decision bandwidth. Like I said, leadership has to do a lot with decision making, right? So, identify what are the different decisions that you need to take as a leader. Label them as high, medium, or low impact, right? Because what you could do is you could delegate the low impact decisions to your rest of the team members, and you as a leader can focus on the high and the medium impact so that you are able to conserve your energy towards it. The second thing is to structure your decision making. So, how does one go about it? Use frameworks. You have your decision tree, mind map, criteria grid. It can be the red, amber, green model, whatever that works well for you, so that you are reducing your mental friction and you're able to achieve clarity through speed as well. The third is to limit decision windows. And here I want to talk about setting fixed windows, where you need to take your routine decisions so that you can pre-decide them and then, avoid trivial decisions where you need to take my favorite example here would be of Steve Jobs, right? He always wore the black, collar t-shirt and his jeans so that he didn't want to spend his time and energy in deciding, hey, what dress outfit am I going to wear today? He had standardized it. So that's why he was limiting his decision windows so that you're able to focus more towards strategic thinking. The fourth point in the decision radar I would suggest is strategic pausing, right? Because you're always in a hurry, you're always, doing this, there's something there, you're burning out, you have to take some decisions, put out some fires and stuff like that. Instead, if you can take a 5 to 10 minute pause, it can be some meditation or breathing techniques that Art of Living offers. And if you're able to reset your perspective, so that you're emotionally charged, right? And thereby you're able to take the right decisions with a lot of clarity. That's the fourth thing on the strategic pause. The fifth thing is to anchor vision and values. If you could just check as a leader, whatever that you're asking your team to do or whatever you want to implement, does it really align with the vision and the values of the business? Is it helping you move closer to the long term goals? Now, these are checks and balances that you can do as a leader so that you can make things happen faster and you have clarity towards the strategic alignment in the business. The sixth important aspect is to guard your energy, because your energy can get drained very easily with all these multiple aspects that's happening around you. And to that is why it is important to prioritize your sleep, your exercise, and how you managing to recover. You might have had a long, challenging day. At the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, this is like too much to handle. Which is okay because it does happen sometimes on a leadership level. But how are you recouping and how are you going to bounce back the next day? What are those rituals that you have that will help you tomorrow you start afresh? And you are bang on giving the best version as a leader, and that is why your mental energy is very, very important. The last one in the decision radar are your awareness checks. If you were to just think, if there is a crisis, am I being reactive as a leader or am I being proactive? Is my energy getting drained? Do I have some time and space for some reflection? Am I just being impulsive and overreactive? right? So those are questions you need to check with yourself, because you need to have the clarity for the strategic thinking and then take the right business decisions. So that is why in my book I have shared about this leadership radar, so that leaders can look into these areas and see what actions they can take to better themselves as a leader. Because being a leader is not just about making decisions, but it is about making decisions that matter the most, but at the same time, without losing yourself, your identity, and your feelings in the process. So, that is what I want to share, because by doing this, you're enabling the right decisions, ensuring things are intact. And what happens? Your productivity, efficiency increases, your emotional intelligence gets better, you're able to handle your team members better. And all of this contributes to better business growth and profitability.
Great, Sangeeta. So, what I was recalling while you were talking on these pointers, I had a boss who was handling more than 600 projects
Oh, okay.
single-handed. He
Uh-huh.
was the PMO head, right?
Uh-huh.
But I have never seen him in a mood that he is angry always. He used to be
Oh,
always calm. So, and
lovely.
he used to say, he used to talk in Hindi. So he अगर मैं नहीं रहूंगा तो प्रोजेक्ट नहीं मिलेगा क्या? He used to say first question. Second question is आप लोग कब सुधरोगे? Is what is the next question will come, and he'll say, when I ask Sanjay, why are you asking that? I'm telling you, you people have to scale yourself to become me, and I have to move on, right? I cannot sit and do PMO role for here lifelong. Please
Right.
understand, scale up. I used to tell that, and I used to tell, how do you know so many projects? And luckily, Sangeeta, he used to tell, इस project में इतना पैसा आना चाहिए, इस project में this is where you will fail, इस project में you will not start at all unless that guy gives you this. So he used to be very clear, and we used to be surprised. And one day he told, when you take a project, you need to read the SOW 100 times. Make every pointer that you have said you will deliver. Now, if customer is stopping you to deliver, then you have a point. And also tell the customer that this project is not mine, this is yours, and I am working for you. You've given me the opportunity to work.
Right.
Simple point. Next,
Right.
if you want to escalate on me because of what I told, this is my mail ID, this is my boss's mail ID, this is his phone number, so you can talk to him. I have given that authority to tell you that.
Excellent.
So I used to be mesmerized the way this guy used to handle 600 projects in the. I used to be part of Wipro Infotech.
Right.
Infotech was about chaos only. We were talking only on infrastructure, right? We were talking only to banks. Now, whatever banks you have, Indian Overseas Bank, this one, Catholic Syrian Bank, Federal Bank, name
Right.
the bank, we have done
Mm.
projects for them for core banking system and this one. So, most of the projects what Wipro had implemented, I was either being directly there as a project manager or I was a program manager running this. And
Right.
everything used to get ended up with this guy. And he'll say, you are handling 6 projects, dashboard दिखाओ.
Right.
And I used to be scared. What this guy will ask next question? How will I get? Where will I? But he would have gone and looked at my dashboard prior to me coming to see him. And he will say, मैंने देखा, you have updated, आधा घंटे पहले you did the update. अभी actual बताओ मुझसे. You did the update in the day. Tell me the actuals. I used to be surprised the way he used to act. And he told us, when you lose your calm, your clarity also will go off. The way that
Absolutely.
you want to give. If
Yes.
you want to
Yes.
give a detail, you will have to sit and understand what that is. There was one more guy called David C. Matthew. He used to say, he taught me only one thing was never interrupt when somebody is talking. First point. Second point is that you note down point one, okay, point two, okay, point three, okay, point four, okay, okay. So that guy says, I have given all the pointers, then you start talking. Then you list out, sir, you spoke about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I take point one, this is where we stand. Point two, this is where we stand. We have a challenge here, this is where we are struck. Need your guidance or need your team's guidance, he used to tell. and used to address everything and then say, hope I've addressed your problems. Amazing leaders I had the privilege of working with. So, whatever you're talking or what frameworks, I think most of the people don't know or they have not worked with the leaders like
Right.
what we've got as a privilege to work. Now, coming to that point, chaos to clarity, tools that help leaders lead with resilience. What is that you take when you say who leads who from your thought?
Super, super. So that this is yet another framework that I've shared in the book on leadership resilience, and I call this the six pillars of leadership resilience. In fact, I call it the 6E principles of leadership resilience, right? So what are they? The 6 E's that I want to share is the first E is the energy, right? Because the energy is your vital fuel. As a leader, you need energy, mental energy, physical energy to ensure everything is happening the way that you want. So without energy, you can't really be the best version as a leader. And therefore, focusing on the energy, which is your vital fuel, is very, very important. And that's where, again, I want to re-emphasize and reiterate the importance of sleep, exercise, mindful pauses, your meditation, the right nutrition, and so on. The second D of the 6E is the endurance to be on the path, to be, staying in power and the position as a leader, because you need consistency both as a high performer and as well as a leader. Consistency is something that's extremely important. So endurance is the quiet strength that leader needs to possess, especially when there are challenges, and therefore building discipline, pacing yourself, and creating those recovery rituals that I mentioned, right? So that is what helps the leader to endure further. The third E that I mentioned under the 60 pillars of resilience in the book are is enthusiasm, right? Because enthusiasm is that positive spark. As a leader, imagine how the team would feel if they were to work with somebody who's very grumpy, who's like, angry and, screaming and shouting all the time, right? Nobody would want to work with such a leader. And like we know, people leave leaders, not really the organization, right? The bosses. So
Yeah,
how are you as a leader? Do you have that positive spark in you that is like uplifting your team, fuels their morale, and creates that momentum amongst the team members? And therefore, the enthusiasm of a leader is something very important. The fourth T that I wish to share is to empower the self belief, right? Because it's easy to get bogged down by challenges, but true resilience comes in the form of self empowerment. So, do you trust yourself? Do you own the choices that you make? Do you take responsibilities and building that inner confidence so that, whatever challenges that may come, I will be a resilient leader, face them, and see how best I can take them forward and be successful through it. So that is the fourth T. The fifth T that I've spoken in the book is the evolution. The evolution as a growth mindset, as a growth mindset, because resilient leaders, they need to grow with change. Evolution is all about the flexibility. You need to have the learning, and turning your challenges into opportunities is something that's very essential for leaders. So, staying curious, embracing the feedback that you get, and continuously upgrading your skills is what will result in the uh, growth mindset as a leader, which is your evolution into the growth mindset. The last of the 6 E's that I want to share is the elevation. The elevation is nothing but the wider lens. So, what do I mean by the wider lens and the elevation is the ability to step back, right? If you were to just look at the immediate turbulence, the challenge that you're having, it's very, very easy to, succumb to it, or, get totally confused or be pulled down by it. Whereas if you were to take, take a step behind and look at the larger vision, the bigger vision for you have for yourself as well as your business, that will give you a wider lens, right? And at the same time, you must be able to reflect regularly, see what is the perspective that you want to take, and most importantly, keep the purpose in sight. So, by doing that, you're able to widen your thought process, and rather than just narrowing yourself into a particular aspect, you're able to get the bigger picture. So by following these 6 E's, as a leader, you become a lot more resilient, and you're able to stand tall despite these challenges, right? Because as a leader, you need to know when you need to pause, when you need to push, when you have to adapt to yourself, and most importantly, rise above the challenges. And that is what resilient leadership is all about. So, as a pun, I have ended this chapter with saying resilient leaders fly with 6E. If you notice, the 6E is our indigo, right? So that is what I have concluded it with this chapter. Prem, I don't hear you.
Sorry, yeah, I have typed in what you told, so I have put that in the scroll down going there. Follow the
Oh,
six
lovely.
E's. So
Fantastic.
E is for energy, E is for endurance, E is for enthusiasm, empower, evolution, and elevation. So these are the
Okay.
6 points of what Sangeeta has been telling so far for us, just to add to the team so that it makes it easy for them to remember. I put them on the scroll.
Very
So
nice.
coming to
Very
the last point that I want to talk to you over today
mm,
was the real ROI part, right? So
yes.
when we look at ROI of leaders who
Right.
lead, either whether it is emotionally or at the this one,
Right.
the real ROI is stillness, leadership that
Absolutely. Yeah.
performs without pressure, right?
Yes.
So your
Yes.
take on it, Sangeeta.
Oh, okay. So let me share this story, which probably most of us know about it, right? Scientist Newton, right? What happened? He was running around trying to, see how he can prove and, come up with the law that he came up with. But when did he actually discover it? When he was still sitting under the apple tree, right? And when that apple fell in that stillness, that's when he came up with the law of gravity. Right now, this is a favorite example that Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar shares, and that has really stuck on to me. And I'm linking it with your question, the ROI of stillness. So only when you're still can you come up with innovations, the clarity, better decisions, many such things, which I will also share. But the important thing is when your mind is occupied with different aspects of chaos, or you're not in the present moment, and you're thinking about something else in the back of your mind, or you're facing leadership burnout and stuff like that, you are not still. And if you're not still, what happens? The best in you is not coming out. And therefore, if you were to look at the ROI of stillness, which is what Who Leads Who is all about, is stillness is not just being idle or being inactive, right? It's about cultivating that inner calm despite the
Mm.
storms that you may be facing, the mental clarity and the emotional balance that you need to have as a leader despite the chaos that you're facing. And when leaders practice this sort of stillness, it can be through art of living practices, which is what I have highlighted in the book. It can also be through reflection, through breath work, being mindful, and that is what sharpens or heightens their level of performance. And what happens, to answer the ROI aspect that you mentioned, it enables them to take better decisions and faster decisions as well. It improves their emotional quotient, and they're able to regulate their emotions in the right and positive manner. Obviously, enhance creativity and innovation is possible. They're able to be focused, sharper focus, and better productive levels, manage their teams more efficiently, healthier leadership energy that they are using for their team members. It also gives them stronger presence and influence as a leader. Influence for a leader is very important, right? So it enables them to be a better influencer, and also results in inner stability, right? Now all of these aspects, I think, is a lot more than just a regular ROI. These could be intangible, but then a combination and a culmination of all of this can probably result in like a measurable or a tangible ROI in the form of the financial metrics and the financial results that the business can produce. And that is why I say, when stress goes behind you and you are leading stress instead of stress leading you, a lot of magic can happen. You become better, you start feeling better about your own self, you become a better leader in the process, and as a result you're leading your teams better, you're leading by example, and all of this culminates to better efficiency, better productivity, and resulting in high performance, which means higher profits for the business. So I say HP for HP, which is high performance for high profits. And I guess that's something that all businesses want and they look out for. So if your business is looking at higher profits, higher performance, then you must ensure your leaders are stress free. And for that, I would urge you to read the book Who Leads Who, which talks about stress free leadership tools, frameworks, and the art of living practices.
So, Sangeeta, what I have done to keep the audience informed about the book, so I have put a QR code which
Oh,
redirects to your
fantastic.
Amazon. It goes to
Super.
your Amazon shopping cart, and if
Right.
people scan this, I think they'll go to Amazon and they can buy the book.
Super.
This is what we
That's
were
very
able to bring it on the screen there. Now I've put a link. I'll put a link also on the this one, but very insightful framework. I think these are very important frameworks. See, we've been talking on many frameworks, how to be stress free, and how do we look at leadership framework tools that we can look at. But when you bring something from a chaos to calmness, that's where you've done. And that's where I think what you're saying is who leads who, whether it is stress or you leading somebody, is what you're saying, is what I see in the book
yes.
overall. Now, coming to that point, you authored 5 books. That's one interesting thing that I want to understand from you is
Sure.
what are the other books that you could leave the audience with, right? So that would
Okay.
help them
Right.
in going through your books. And what are those books talking about? Because you're talking about who leads who. What is the other four sets?
Yes, yes. Thank you for bringing that up. My first book was actually a spiritual thriller. It's called A
Mm-hmm.
Glance at the Unknown, and it won me an award as one of 100 inspiring authors of India. And
Oh,
this is a
wonderful.
free download on Kindle, so feel free. It is available on Amazon, both hard and the soft copy. So when I started telling people that I've written a book, people
Mm.
assumed it to be a finance book because I was a CFO, chartered accountant with so many years of experience. So everybody nudged me and urged me to write a finance book, which led me to writing What the Finance, right?
Okay.
And that is about simplifying finance, because normally people, when you say finance, they say finance is boring, it's challenging, it's not my cup of tea. So I have made finance very, very simple, business finance, very simple for leaders. So given it, made it as a very practical playbook, like, this is your challenge, this is your solution, right? So no jargons, or, just very simple and very easy to implement. And that book is a national bestseller. That's also available on Amazon, hard and soft copy. Then my third book is called Get High: How to Coach Yourself for High Performance in Your Work, because everybody wants, this I say, nobody says no to high performance, right? So
Yeah.
that's the specialty of high performance. So that's also, it gives a lot of practical tools and tricks and stuff that people can start implementing right away. And that book has been endorsed by Marshall Goldsmith, right? So the New
Yeah.
York Times bestseller. Yeah, yeah. So that is the third book, Get High. My fourth book is called Where's the Moolah? Moolah, like, is money, right? So that talks about financial growth hacking for business profitability. So in that book, I've spoken about the business wheel, where to say how each of the functions of the business can actually pivot and leverage on finance, which can contribute to better profitability of the business. So that also has insights of several industry leaders on how, they are managed to grow their business profitably as well. So that's also another interesting read. And of course, my latest is Who Leads Who, which is, yeah, stress-free leadership tools, frameworks, and the art of living practices.
What I have done, another pointer is I'm scrolling Sangeeta's LinkedIn link down there. Please connect with Sangeeta. We have a different set of leader here in our podcast today. Is one, she is a doctor, doctorate. Second is she is a CFO, she's a financial lady. Now talking about leadership and stress-free leadership, I think it's three gamuts that she's trying to bring in at a concise format where you can reach out to her and talk about. And she's been doing some of the talks in some of the conferences and stuff. The CFO needs numbers. I think she knows where the numbers are.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Business is all about
uh,
numbers. Yeah.
yeah, I was talking to somebody today, Sangeeta, is that how do you convince the board was the question that they said. So I was telling board is more about the financial people there. You give them the number.
Absolutely.
You say this is
Yeah.
what we are solving and this is where we're saving. So you will get your
Correct.
funding done. So
True.
great to have you, Sangeeta. Any pointers that you want to leave the audience with and before we conclude?
Yes, definitely. I would like to say that see you how you can beat stress. Because when you're stressed, the best in you doesn't come. You're not the best version of yourself, and whatever you do is not at its peak potential, right? So therefore, it's important. Stress is a silent killer. So you need to see how you can overcome it because many times we don't even realize that we are stressed, right? So that's something that you need to address. Your leadership wellness is the most important thing because like I said in the beginning, unless you are well, unless you feel good about yourself, you will not be able to give the best to your team members, not your business. So it is very, very important. You are the most important thing. You need to prioritize yourself. So see how you can do it. And by doing all this and being a great leader, you leave behind a great leadership legacy will outlast you. So that is my request to you to see how you take care of yourself, how you prioritize yourself, and see what is the kind of leadership legacy that you want to leave behind.
Thank you for that, Sangeeta. Now, coming to the audience, thank you for joining us. And we have completed 299 episodes
Wow.
as on today. And next week being Diwali, we do want to run it on a Tuesday, so we're shifting our gears to Thursday because we don't want the festivity to look at we want to look at the festivity to happen. The podcast can move 2 days. This one, we're moving it to 23rd. What we are talking about is why detection isn't enough, and the future of predictive cybersecurity and intelligent prevention is what we're talking about. We have one of the directors coming and talking. His name is Santosh Tripathi. He's joining us on 23rd, 6:30 p.m. Looking forward to see you guys there and happy Diwali to everybody. And Sangeeta, thank you for being here.
Thank you,
And
Prem, for having me.
good day, Sangeeta. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, all the very best to all the viewers. I wish you all luck, success, growth, calmness, and stress free, successful leadership leading into high performance and higher profits.
thank you, Sangeeta. Good day and bye for
Okay.
now.
Bye.